Morning, everybody. It's good morning. It's going to be a good day. Got a lot to be thankful for today. We had tornadoes roll through here last night and tear some stuff up, but our house, our family is safe. The shop was safe. No damage done to us, and so we got a lot to be thankful for. It's a Friday. We're going to have some fun today, get some work done today. I'm going to make a quick video for you about a truck issue that I see from time to time, and give you a couple things to check to see if this happens to you. Maybe can speed up the diagnostic process and find the problem faster for you. I want to get this video done so I can get working on my 72 Ford project truck. I usually do that in the mornings, but I've been doing these videos in the mornings and it's cutting into my project time, so I got to get back to that truck to have it ready for spring. Speaking of that truck, I'm going to take you out, show it to you real quick, and then I'll talk about truck problems, and then I'm going to go work on that project truck this morning. Alright everybody, this is my 72 F250 Camper Special. And it's, well, there it is. There it is. Oh, there's part of it. There's part of it over there. Yeah, so, as you can see, I put it on the lift to replace the headers. I had an exhaust leak and decided to put headers on it, and it got deep. We had to pull the engine in order to do the headers. The floorboards were rotted out, and so and front cab mounts were rotted out. So we tore all that out. I've got those replaced at this point. It's not a perfect job, but I'm all about just getting the job done, so I can enjoy an old truck. It's not a show truck. I'm a sucker for patina. That body is going to stay looking exactly the way it was when I bought it. But yeah, while the engine is out, we decided it's got to get a bigger cam. Just naturally, now's the opportunity. So doing that, resealing the engine, putting some new bearings in it. Going to try to get a little bit more power out of it, and we'll put a new exhaust out the back. It's going to be a fun truck. I'll show you it when it gets back together. Let's move on to this semi. So here's the complaint. We've got a truck that is hard steering at slow speed or when you're starting to take off. But then once you get into your turn and get past a really hard spot in the steering, it'll let go and your steering will come back and it'll turn like it ought to. I've got 3 common causes for this complaint. The first one, found primarily on Kenworth W900s in my experience, is the rear steering shaft U-joint. That U-joint, it's in a bind all the time. The engineers manufactured this truck to set up that particular U-joint in a horrible bind. A U-joint does not like to go beyond a certain angle in its normal operation. You can see the angle on this one right there. That is about the maximum angle that you want to have on a U-joint. Whereas the one at the top, that steering shaft is coming in at an angle that's, you know, something like that, maybe. I don't know. It's a very steep angle, and it's really hard on that U-joint. So when you're driving down the road, that U-joint is going to sit there flat like this with the horizontal trunnions, and most of the time when you're driving at high speeds, you only turn your wheel so far, and what that'll do is it'll end up wearing out 2 of the trunnions that get all the abuse, but the other 2, they don't get worn out so much. And So the two that get worn out will end up getting dry, and the needles will fall apart. They'll end up getting rusty. They'll seize up, and it's not a real big problem going down the road when you're doing this. But when you start putting that extreme angle and turning to an extreme degree, it really puts those U-joints in a bind where they don't want to work with you, and it'll be real tight until it gets past that that hill, that peak stress point, and then when you come down off the backside of that, it'll steer real nice again. So that's very common on a Kenworth. Best way to check that is to pop off the bottom U-joint off of the steering gearbox and turn the steering wheel and see if, while that shaft is in the normal position, whether the steering wheel gets tight and loose as you rotate it around in a circle. The other way you could do it is you could lift the entire steer axle off the ground and rotate that steering wheel. It should feel evenly difficult to turn the steering wheel throughout the entire range. And if you got the wheels off the ground and you got hard and soft spots, you got a U-joint that's binding on you. So definitely on a W9, check those two spots out. The next steering problem that we see is really common with farmers, which I work on a lot of farm trucks. Other times you see it with guys that only pull one trailer and rarely have a need to unhook. Guys that are trucking part-time, trucks that only get worked, every so often. The drivers will forget to keep their fifth wheel greased, and the trailer will try to friction weld itself to the fifth wheel plate. And so the driver doesn't know or doesn't think about this, and they'll get a heavy load on there and tons and tons of pressure on that fifth wheel plate that has no lube, and then when they go into a turn, their truck doesn't want to turn, and they fight it, and then all of a sudden there'll be a pop, and they'll go into the turn, make the turn just fine, and they come to me complaining, there's something wrong with my steering gearbox, something wrong with my front end, I don't know what it is, but it's really hard to steer, and then something popped and let go, and I can turn. And we take them to the back of the truck and show them this fifth wheel, and explain, no, it's not steering, you need to do better maintenance on your truck. The real problem is when you polish out a fifth wheel with a trailer, when you get all that grease worn off, and you got those two metal surfaces rubbing against each other nonstop with a bunch of weight, it polishes the metal to the point where grease won't stick anymore. So you can put grease back on it, and in no time at all, it'll be gone again. It's really hard to get grease to stick to a polished out surface. The best thing that we know to do is grease it repeatedly. And when you do grease it, if there's any grease in the center of the fifth wheel, where it's not a contact area, or on the outside edges, if it don't have rocks and grit in it, or if it's got pockets that trap oil or grease, maybe some around the jaws, scrape that up with a scraper and scrape it onto the contact areas, because that grease tends to be very thick and very sticky. But definitely, if you're having that symptom and you don't change your trailer very often, check out your fifth wheel. The third common issue is in the steering system itself, the steering gearbox system itself, and that is a dirty filter. The power steering filter is a filter that's not easily accessible. It's not often serviced. It doesn't need to be serviced real often. Maybe every couple years be a good idea, but because of that infrequency, it's often forgot about. So if it's been a while, that's a possibility. You a lot of times if you're starving your pump for oil, you'll hear it. It'll make a pretty obvious noise coming from that front driver's side corner of the engine. So yeah, if you're hearing a strange noise and you got hard steering, pull that filter out. Go ahead and replace it. Use ATF, automatic transmission fluid, for like an automobile. Use that. Change out the oil in it. We use ATF because ATF is a high detergent oil. It cleans up internals way better than regular engine oil does. It cleans up all that, or whatever debris you got in your steering gearbox. Filter picks it up, and your system lasts very long without maintenance, just like an automatic transmission in a car. Delicate parts require a really clean, high detergent oil. Don't forget, when you get your filter, get a gasket for the lid. If you got the plastic dome top, there's a thick rubber seal that goes under that dome top reservoir. So yeah, and if you're not having steering problems right now, it'd be good maintenance. Check all three of those. To an extent, all three of these problems can be addressed with regular maintenance and avoided with regular maintenance. Grease that U-joint, grease that fifth wheel, and change that power steering filter every couple years. Change the fluid at the same time. When's the last time you checked that filter or changed that fluid? Wouldn't it be a bad idea to do if you can't remember? Well, it's late Friday afternoon. It's about time to be going home. It's been a great week. Things are looking pretty good where I'm standing right now. Hope your guys' weekend's looking as good as mine's going to be.